So, guys, this is my review for Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Season 2, Episode 8. With that, guys, let's dive right into this review of this episode. The title of the episode was called Gathering. And I definitely want to definitely say that, the episode was really great. Me personally, I loved it personally. Some people might not like it because they're what they're looking for is now that we've gotten to the place where Gyutaro shows up. We're a lot of people are basically expecting there to be heavy fighting in this episode. It basically doesn't happen until like the last 7+ minutes of the episode. There's a lot of conversation going on here in episode 8, but me personally, I love the dialogue itself. So I just want to forewarn those of you who haven't watched episode 8 yet, and you're just here. This is going to be a spoiler. This is not going to be a spoiler-free video. So just forewarning you now that that this is what's going on here in this episode. Now, in the opening, we get Tanjiro. He's carrying Nezuko with him, and we're kind of getting like a little bit of a flashback of what happened from last week. And he basically puts her back in the box. He's like, I want you to sleep, stuff like that. So he's basically putting her back in the box, putting the box on his back, and then heading to go towards Tengen and everybody. So in this episode, we get dialogue between Gyutaro, Daki, and Tengen. Here, they're basically going back and forth. This is what they talked about in the manga too, where we were just talking, and I talked about this in my preview video from yesterday, that we got the dialogue between these three, and they're talking about Gyutaro trying to figure things out about Tengen and why he's not dying so quickly, and this, that, and the third. And we also get the fact that also noting that Gyutaro does indeed poison Tengen. He doesn't. Uzui, of course, tries to play it off, right? He tries to play it off like, yeah, I'm not poisoned, but you can tell because even Gyutaro, because Uzui, he's breathing kind of heavy and stuff. He notices it because remember at the end of episode 7 last week, he cut the side of the left side of his head, so all that blood was gushing down on the left side of his eye. So that blood the poison is already in his system. It's just taking, a good bit for it to connect to his nervous system and stuff like that. So, he's trying to play it off and this, that, and the third. But then also too, Daki is saying some stuff to him. No, I'm sorry. Uzui, he mentions about being shinobi and stuff like that, how strong they are, and Daki's like, her response is like, no, you can't be a shinobi. The shinobi died back in the Edo time, and then we get the explanation, and it's a very great visual from Uzui when he's talking about his family and how there was 15 of them. There were 7 of them. Sorry, 9 of them, and 7 of them died. And by the time he hit 15, this is what we got from the manga too. And we also get a visual of what his brother looked like here in the episode, and he's basically saying like we're this, that, and the third, talking about his brothers just like his father, and how his father treated his mom bad and things of that sort. Is what I talked about in my preview video yesterday. We got a lot of that here. We also got something specific with the Hashira's master. I'll be talking about this in a video to come, probably tomorrow, maybe even today if I have time. That we see that his master this has to be like a year or two prior, maybe 3-4 years prior. His master's having a conversation with him and a couple of Uzui's wives. And we see that when you can visualize in the video here that I'm talking about, when you can visualize what their master looks like now, we see in this past memory that Uzui's having with the masters of Ashira only like a small portion of his face is damaged, like the left side of his face. And like, I don't, it was so quick because I was paying attention to the conversation they were having, so I didn't get a chance to look at his left side of his face. So I couldn't see if his left eye had already been affected by that which is covering his whole entire face now in current times. So we only see just a portion of the left side of his face being affected by whatever it is that is affecting his face. So we see that while he's having a conversation with Uzui. And then of course, we're getting a little bit of fighting between Uzui and Gyutaro, but then that's when we get Tanjiro, Zenitsu, Inosuke popping up. Of course, Zenitsu's still asleep, and then we see that Tanjiro steps in, and Tengen, he says something inspiring that reminds him of Rengoku, and Rengoku's like silhouette, and most of his face pops up on the left side of Tengen. It was really, really dope. I'm gonna do another video about that, but it was just something that where Tanjiro, he got reminded of Rengoku in that moment when Tengen was talking and saying something inspiring. But through all of this, we also see, and I'm gonna be doing another video about this, we also see that Tanjiro was saying, like, he notices that that Daki and now Gyutaro is showing up. He's like, there's another demon. I can't tell between who's the strongest, blah blah blah. But he can definitely tell that Gyutaro is very dangerous, and he's literally telling himself, I gotta move. Once he makes a move, then I'm gonna go on ahead and attack. And then that's when we get the visual from the manga that is just really, really dope that I wanted to see, is Gyutaro stepping in quickly with his sickle, the pointing part of his sickle, to come up and try to stab the throat of like he's stabbing up at the throat of Tanjiro, and it was like real quick, and then Tengen takes him and grabs him and tosses him out of the way, and then we get a huge fight back and forth between Tengen and Gyutaro. Specifically here in this image here, we see we get this visual from the manga, specifically now here in anime form. It's really, really dope. But Tengen does get a little bit of a cut on Gyutaro's neck. But again, like, there's in between of all of this, there's a lot of dialogue and stuff. And then of course we also see that because they are fighting so fast, we do see the fact that Gyutaro is like, look, I need to try to really handle this. He uses his Blood Demon Art. We know that Tengen's also trying to use more of his bombs to kind of like spread things apart between the two. He does that a couple of times here in this episode. But like, when we see him doing specific things towards Gyutaro, time is slowing down. We're getting some thoughts from Gyutaro himself. It's just really, really dope. He's like analyzing stuff, and Gyutaro is just really, he's like really, really dope as a demon. He's an analyzer in the midst of how fast things are going. He's literally analyzing specific things that are happening and how people are moving and stuff when he's fighting them. It's just really, really just so cool to see Gyutaro do this here in episode 8. But ultimately they do get a really dope, even more fight a bit closer towards the end of the episode. Tanjiro has to step in because Gyutaro uses his Blood Demon Art attack with his sickles, and Tanjiro steps in to block this specific attack, and then that's when he uses some water breathing form to be able to push away the Blood Demon Art attack that Gyutaro used in that fight. But in the midst of all of that too, I forgot to mention one of Tengen's, I can't remember her name specifically as of right now, but I'll probably do another video on her and later in the coming week. But the one wife that he was like tending to at the beginning of, I want to say episode 6 or 5, whichever comes first, she's slowly, gradually getting to where they're at. She gets to the top of the roof where everybody's fighting, and she she has to position herself there. But also in the midst of that too, Daki and Zenitsu go up. They literally fight, and they go up on top of one of the roofs, and then we get the dialogue between them two where Zenitsu speaks, and he's telling her she needs to apologize to the young lady who she grabbed her ear way back in episode, I want to say episode 3 or 4. And he wants her to apologize, and we get the dialogue between them two about how Daki was saying, like, people are ugly, this, that, and the third. This is a place where, women get pimped out and stuff like that. They don't deserve to be claimed, be called humans and stuff like that. They deserve this stuff. We get that dialogue too here in the episode. Just really with just a whole bunch of stuff is just happening. There's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of dialogue, but once things pick up moving forward towards the end of this episode, that's when things start to rapidly start to occur. But then, like I said, once Tengen's wife gets on the top of the roof and she uses her kunai to shoot at, she uses a lot of them too. She shoots at Gyutaro with the kunai. He sees them coming. He tries to block them, but Tengen kind of like zipped in through and got hit by some of those kunai to be able to affect Gyutaro in such a way with his attack that one of the kunai hit him, and he basically and Tengen slices his legs up under him. So he basically says that my legs aren't regenerating something within the kunai and this, that, and the third. And then that's when Tanjiro shows up. He shows up with his sword to basically cut the neck of Gyutaro, and then that's basically the end of episode 8. So a whole bunch of stuff happened. It was just dope, guys. Like I said, I really love the dialogue between everybody here specifically, and like I said, Gyutaro and what he was doing and analyzing stuff, it was just really, really cool to see here in episode 8. But be on the lookout for my mini videos to come. There's gonna be several of them. There's gonna be probably a couple today, and then several of them throughout this week to come as we prepare for episode 9. And definitely be on the lookout for my preview video to come, probably Friday or Saturday, to come to talk about what's to basically come next when it's pertaining to episode 9 next Sunday. But with that, guys, leave some comments in the comment section below. What did y'all think of this review? What did y'all think of episode 8 of season 2? Let's talk about some things, guys, as you feel up to it. But I will hopefully talk to y'all next time with more Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba videos. Peace, guys.